Joining me here in Atlanta to talk more about this is CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Philip Holloway. Also with us in Baltimore is Justin George, a writer for the Baltimore Sun, which is a paper that has given special access to the police task force investigating Gray's death. So thanks to both of you for joining me. First, Philip, let's talk a little bit about what we just heard from Sarah Seidner's report about this new motion by the attorneys of these 6 police officers to try to get the prosecutor in this case off the case. How likely is it that their motion to remove her will succeed?
It might have some teeth to it. It's very unusual, but you know, prosecutors ought to have a very special and unique ethical obligation in criminal cases. Essentially, their obligation is to do justice. That's not necessarily the obligation of all lawyers, but it's unique to prosecutors, and it can mean many things, but it means a lot of other things. They don't engage in conflicts of interest, and they don't pursue political prosecutions. And this one, a lot of people think is a political prosecution. They believe that she has some conflicts of interest. So that is the genesis of this. That is what this ethics complaint is all about. And ultimately, it will have to play out in the courtroom, and the judge will be the decision maker.
Justin, it seems so much of the controversy surrounding the confrontation with Freddie Gray and these police officers comes from the fact that a lot have said that there was no probable cause for them to make an arrest in the first place. What more are you learning about that initial interaction and the reason that Freddie Gray perhaps was running?
Well, we still don't know exactly why he was running. Police had, they believed that they had reasonable suspicion to stop him because it was a high sort of drug area and he was running. Once they did stop him, they frisked him and there was a knife on him. Now that knife has been a point of contention. Police say that it is spring assisted and thus violates a Baltimore city law, while the state's attorney says that the knife is perfectly legal and it's not an illegal switchblade. Now, a legal switchblade is illegal according to Maryland law, which says it pops open with a spring and also some sort of button.
So, Philip, some have argued that this knife, and whether it was a legal knife or not, really is a moot point, because if there was no probable cause necessarily to even approach him, then, forget about the knife to begin with. But a Supreme Court ruling states that officers who are patrolling these high crime areas are allowed to pursue someone who's fleeing. So do you think, that the officers or attorneys will be able to fall back on that 2000 ruling? At
least with respect to the 2 officers who started the foot chase, yes. I think, in fact, they may have a complete defense based on that case, which is Illinois versus Wardlaw from 2000. Also, there was a case, Hine versus North Carolina, that was decided in just December of last year. And what Hine stands for is the proposition that even if police are mistaken about the legality of that knife, if they're acting in good faith, then the arrest is still legal and the probable cause is valid. So if the arrest is valid, their charges are not valid. And ironically, you could make the argument in that case that it is the prosecutor who has falsely imprisoned at least these 2 bike patrol officers.
And I want to ask you specifically about the charges, because one of the charges is second-degree murder. So the prosecutor would have to prove that one of these officers intended to kill Freddie Gray, right?
Well, what I was just referring to was the 2 officers who got this thing started the foot chase and ultimately arrested him. The remaining officers who were responsible for his care once he was placed in custody in that van, this particular type of defense will not apply to them. Their criminal liability will depend entirely upon how negligent or criminally negligent or how willful their misconduct might have been.
All right, Philip Holloway and Justin George, thank you so much for joining us today.